Hey everyone, and welcome to the Women of War podcast, where we dive into the untold stories of women's bravery, struggles, and resilience in the midst of conflict. I am your host, Megan, and together we'll explore the powerful narratives of women who've stood on the front lines, those who have been caught in the crossfires, and the lasting impact war has had on their lives. From ancient warriors to modern day heroes, we'll uncover the roles women have played in shaping history throughout war and peace. So grab your headphones and let's embark on this journey to hear the voices of women who fought battles both seen and unseen. Get ready for an eye-opening experience on the Women of War podcast. Hey everyone, today is going to be part 4 of our interview. I hope you all have had a great March, and thank you for coming on this journey with us for Multiple Myeloma Awareness Month. I can't wait to see you next month. And welcome back to the Women of War podcast. I'm here today with a special guest, Tina White. She is a warrior in her own right. She is a caretaker to a cancer patient, in which we will be delving into this episode. Tina White is a lifelong Texian who is 8th generation. Her family has resided in the Lone Star State since before Texas was its own republic. She married her high school sweetheart over 3 decades ago. She homeschooled their 2 children from preschool to high school graduation. Tina has served on boards of directors and executive boards of directors and has volunteered her time and talents since she was 18. She's even won an award or 2 for what she's done for her community. She has degrees in English and history. She's a published writer and photographer, a foodie, unplanned caretaker, and her most important title is that of Mimi to her first grandchild. Here we are with Tina.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Of course. And before we go on, is there anything else you want to talk about dealing with your journey as a caretaker? Is there anything you would like to share?
Okay. Well, right now I'm thinking it would have been nice if we went over the questions beforehand so I would be prepared for this answer. But can you read the question again or ask the question again?
Is there anything you want to talk about, just like carte blanche on anything you want to talk about dealing with your journey?
I think education is important, and educating myself has helped me to be better, know what to expect. But I think if I were to say like one thing to someone, it would be, don't be afraid. You know your loved one better than anyone else. Don't be afraid. I've had to fire doctors before. I've fired doctors in a hospital called hospitalist, and it was the best thing I did. My husband would not be here if I would have not taken that step to stand up for him and fire those doctors and not allow them back in his room. Mm-hmm. It's made all the difference. And, follow your gut. Follow your gut. And don't be afraid to stand up for your loved one, for their life, for their care, for yourself, for whatever you need. Don't be afraid to stand up. Because if you don't do it, chances are no one else is going to. And I've gone toe to toe and nose to nose with a lot of medical professionals, and you know, and everyone tells me, oh, you should be an advocate. Well, I already am. I'm advocating for my husband. And, you know, and sometimes, you know, when the medical professionals are telling me, oh, you should be an advocate, I'm like, is it a paid position? Because so far it's not. But I would, you know, love to, because it is something that I am passionate about. You know, I visited a cancer patient that I knew, and they had the horrible mouth sores, and it wasn't being treated. And his nurses walked in. I'm like, don't you have magic mouthwash that they can use? Like, why is this not being treated? Like, I instantly I didn't think, I just started advocating for that person, making sure that they were taken care of and treated. And of course, you know, they were appreciative, but they didn't know to ask for it. And I don't know why the nurses didn't give it. And that's not my business to know why or why not. My business was to make sure they were taken care of.
Yeah.
And some of the nurses think I'm in the medical field. But, you know, I'm doing things for my husband that, you know, I would have never thought I would do before. I just finished giving him some IV antibiotics, and that was the way he was able to go home from the hospital early, is because I administered that to him every 8 hours. And, you know, you're supposed to rub that little alcohol pad on that lumen for 15 seconds every single time. And of course, my husband's laughing, saying no one would ever, if I was in the hospital, they would not be rubbing this for 15 minutes. Like, it's okay. And I'm like, nope. My job is to rub this lumen with this alcohol pad for 15 minutes or 15 seconds. And that's what I'm going to do, because that's what the rules say. Mm-hmm. And,
because you're trying to protect them. That's there for a protective measure.
Yes, and we had a lovely, lovely nurse one time. Great personality, so sweet. But she never even swapped an alcohol pad on there whenever she was about to insert things into his IV and things like that. And here you have a cancer patient, and she's on the oncology ward. Now, this isn't in Houston, this is locally. But, she was actually teaching a new nurse, like, what to do. She had a nursing student with her, and she was teaching her, a very unsafe thing. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I know that sometimes there's a fine line, and I have to gauge how I'm going to either tiptoe around it or stomp on it. Yeah. Because there's things that call for either or both. But I did have to call her out on it. And of course, she was a little, you know, don't get in my lane. Mm-hmm. I'm the nurse, you're not. But she did come back to me and apologize to me and tell me that what she did was wrong and she should have never done, and she had just gotten lazy and she was sorry. And I hope that that has stayed with her, and she no longer, you know, takes advantage of a cancer patient like that. Yeah. I think if anyone can say anything about me, I'm passionate. And whenever I'm passionate, you know I'm passionate. But, you know, just trust yourself. Mm-hmm. And it's okay to stand up to these people with all of these degrees and that wear white coats and everything. It's okay to ask questions. It's okay to question, because you're doing it out of love and protection. They have long, hard days, but so do we. Yeah. And of course, so do our loved ones. But it's okay to ask that question. And if you have someone that does not have your person's best interest at heart, it's okay to remove them from their care. Because if I had not done that, probably 3 times, this would be a totally different interview.
Yeah. So, what's the next step? We've already kind of talked slightly about it. We've just dropped kind of like the name, but CAR T. That's your next step. But what is that? What are y'all going to have to go through?
I don't know completely.
Okay.
That's what part of that conversation is going to be about tomorrow morning with that one nurse that I just rescheduled. But what it is they take the blood out and take out certain parts of the blood, like the stem cells, very similar to the stem cell part, and but they call it leukapheresis.
Okay.
And they will remove the parts of the blood that they need, and then they will, it's all these spinny tubes and all of this other stuff, and they take it out and they take what they need and replace what they don't need. Now, this collection will all be done in one day, and it takes about 6 hours. But he'll also be going through more tests, chest x-ray and blood work and meeting with doctors. And so this is the first step. So they take this blood, or the part of the blood that they take out, the stem cells, which is in the white blood cells. They will take it and they will send it to a lab. The way it was told to us is they inject every little cell with virus. Then it will go back into him, very much similar to the stem cell transplant, but it will go back in, and that virus, those cells with viruses, are going to seek out the cancer and eat it. Now, that's going to be really nice.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know what prognosis an oncologist would give to other people having this done, but for my husband, for his particular case, they say that they hope it will give him 1 year of remission. This is a lot to go through for 1 year.
Yes. And how long is it going to, how long are y'all going to be down there? How long is the actual procedure?
So that's a good question, and it varies. It's not a pat answer. A couple of weeks in a hospital, but if he has to go into ICU, then of course that's going to be longer. This is, I don't want to use the word dangerous, but I think scary is a fair word to use. Because with this, there's different things that can happen to organs of the body, like the brain can swell, or the heart, or different organs can be involved after the stem cells are reintroduced to the body and everything. And so with different people, different things happen, or not.
Okay.
I've read accounts of some people have not had any issues. I don't know if it has anything to do with if they're earlier on in their diagnosis, if they're not very far progressed, if they're in relatively good health at the time. I don't know what the differences are. I'm very curious.
Yeah, that sounds like a really good case study, maybe.
And also there's different brands. I know what kind my husband's going to be receiving. I know I've seen another name that a lot of people have received, and there's, they have really good results with that one. But different pharmaceutical companies manufacture different ones, and so I guess it's kind of like the name brand. But one of our questions is going to be about this one that they plan to give him, because I've not really heard much about this one at all. And we're at the point Well, in order to qualify for a CAR T, you have to have 4 lines of treatment that have failed. So if you think about that, it's not a good thing. If you're a patient that's having CAR T, it means that 4 things have gone wrong and not worked. But that's, I guess the gift of the CAR T is that because those have failed, now he can go this route. And he's excited. He's looking forward to it. And we don't think we'll have to be in Houston quite as long as the stem cell transplant.
Okay.
If everything went perfect, we would only have to be there 6-7 weeks. But this is going to happen about a month after the leukapheresis happens.
Okay.
And so because you have to give the lab time to receive your cells and to inject them, send them back, and they're frozen on dry ice and everything. So it's kind of cool to see the steam come off of it. I took video whenever he had his stem cell transplant done. And so I imagine it's going to be very similar for this. And he will have to have, I believe, 3 days of chemo beforehand. Don't know what kind this will be. Don't know if it will be as rough and ragged as the mouth one was, but and we'll probably find that out tomorrow with the phone call. But things are at a very fluid stage. Things are changing rapidly, and just even his schedule is changing right now, adding and subtracting and moving, and but it's okay. It's not anything that affects us, because once we get there for him to go through all of this, it's all all going to be set. All we have to do is show up. And so this is going to be the easy part, and then a month later, then that's whenever it gets real. But honestly, I'm hoping not for a month of remission. Not a month, not a year of remission. Of course, hoping for total remission.
Of course.
And I've read accounts of someone being in remission for 9 years, and to be in remission for 9 years with CAR T, I'm wondering, were they one of the first ones to receive it? Because that seems like an awfully long time, because this started out as trials. But and one of our worries, this isn't one of your questions, but one of our worries is there have been so many failed treatments. The stem cell transplant failed. How many more avenues of treatment are there before it's only trials?
Yeah.
And so, I really don't want that question answered. I want that to remain unasked, because, I'm really hopeful. My husband has a saying, 20 plus years. He feels like God is still going to give him 20 plus years to live. And, we both stand on that and believe that and everything. And maybe the CAR T is the ticket to do that. But it's been nice, because the last couple of days, the research I've done, the accounts that I have read has been a lot more positive than what I have learned thus far, because it's been a little, like I said, scary. If this was me that this was going to happen to, I would be a little more trepidatious and thinking, I don't know if I can jump right into this and say, okay, let's do this.
Yeah.
Especially whenever the PA has said bioidenticals. I want you to do the bioidentical. Well, we would have to permanently probably move to Houston for that, because he would have to go in for 9-10 weeks, or I'm sorry, not weeks, but months and receive treatment there. If not, that would be an awful lot of traveling.
Right. Yeah.
So, and that treatment would have to be done there in Houston at MD Anderson. But for me, I think that's the one I would choose. Not because I'm a sissy, but I don't know. But it's harsh, you know. What he's about to go through is going to be very, very harsh. And but I'm proud of him because he's a warrior, and he's ready for this. Mm-hmm. He's ready to have this happen and get on and you know, hopefully be cancer free and in the near future.
Yeah. How have you prepared yourself for this upcoming treatment and having to be gone for so long? How have you prepared yourself?
Lists. I've made lists of things to do. Of course, we're going to have to go through the short-term disability again. You know, and you did mention, you know, the different insurances and things like that. And there's been things that have happened that have not been very favorable. We had some insurances that were going to be helping us dropped. Not our fault. Someone else didn't do their job. And so I was very perplexed whenever I got these 2 checks in the mail returning our money that we had paid because they dropped those insurances. And that would have really given us, you know, maybe a little cushion, a little bit of help. So it was a little surprising and very frustrating and sad.
Yeah.
Sad too that someone's missteps can affect another person so drastically because it was something that we did specifically and on purpose, and then it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Because that time period was over with. And this last couple months ago, there was, you know, and again, a different kind of extra insurance. Well, it got left on the desk and kind of out of mind, and then the you know, hospitalizations, and so, you know, the time to sign up for that has expired. So you know, there's things that like that happen, no fault of your own, and things happen. Whenever you're in the hospital, you can't run to work to your desk to pick up that one piece of paper.
Yeah.
You know, so there's things that like that do happen, and you know, it's really unfortunate. But we can't dwell on those things. We just have to go forward, and you know, and this isn't a cheap thing. I had to tell a financial counselor, that's what they call them. That's not what I would name it, but the demand money person. I told her, I'm sorry, we don't have a special savings account set aside for cancer, and I can't give you $6,000 today.
And that's going to be my next question is, cancer, it's not cheap. I mean, and how are y'all dealing with that? The medicines, I know the medicines cost because insurance doesn't cover everything, you know. Treatments, medicines, they're not free. Right. Most of it's actually out of pocket.
He receives IV antibiotics, not antibiotics. That part is done with.
Yes.
He receives IV chemo every week, but he also takes oral chemo pills. And that, in and of itself, has been an issue for the last 6 months. Whenever everything failed in September, had to start a new treatment, new oral chemo. And, you know, come to find out, the manufacturers will help some, We got cut off. We had maxed out our maximum amount that they give. That's what we were told. And this particular medication is over $23,000 every 21 days. That means every little pill costs over $1,000. And our copay was $1,400. Boy, we thought that was terrible. And I fought and studied and tried to find ways to help with that cost. And our insurance changed. Not anything we had, anything to do with any say over. It's just, we're thankful to have private insurance.
Yeah.
We are. It affords us, to be able to seek treatment, in Houston like we are. But, so this year, our copay is $9,000.
And this isn't a one-time. This is every single month. $9,000 out of pocket every month.
Mm-hmm. And, we've, sacrifices. I had a really neat convertible roadster, 2-seater. I sold it. I took such good care of that car. And so I sold my car. And so that helped us a little bit. We've had a couple of people in our life that have been generous and helped us a little bit. But I tell you, as prices rise with everything, not everything goes as far as it did 2 years ago whenever this started. And just to be honest with you, the last time I bought groceries was before he went in the hospital. And I gifted those groceries, the perishables, to someone else and blessed them with that because there was no use letting them rot. So we've been back home for a little bit now and, haven't been back to the grocery store. Have to wait for more money to come in. But whenever you're not working, it impacts your income. When I'm not here, I'm not able to do anything. I'm not getting a paycheck. I have to, figure out different ways. And my main job is taking care of him and everything that entails, managing his cancer. If he was a rock star, it would be a much better job being a manager of that rather than managing, cancer patient. But I do it willingly and with all the love in my heart. But, our kids set up a GoFundMe whenever we went to Houston those 3 months for the stem cell transplant. We don't have anything that we know of that's in the works for this next time where we'll, because when we're in Houston, we're paying for accommodations there and we still have every single obligation at home. So that doesn't change. We'll have a little bit of income from the short-term disability, but it's not like normal. It doesn't cover the basis of everything. It helps. I'm not going to bemoan it. It helps, but it doesn't do everything. And when we're in the hospital, his food is covered. I have to pay for mine. Right. My tray is not. And I set myself, $30 a day limit for food. $10 for breakfast, $10 for lunch, $10 for supper. If I can get a $4 breakfast, then that means I can have salmon for supper.
Yeah.
And $30 may or may not sound like a lot of money, but it adds up, and it adds up quickly.
Yeah.
If I were to go down to the cafeteria and get a snack, I learned my lesson. They don't have prices on anything, and you don't know how much it costs until, it's your total, and it's $40 for little, things like a little bag of trail mix and some little seaweed strips, and how much was that? It's really expensive. When someone told me, oh, just Instacart some food, just, Uber Eats. Well, then don't I have to pay delivery fees too?
Yes.
So that means, okay, I'm getting French fries for supper. So honestly, my best bet is to order the food, in the room, and have the tray delivered with his. This next time I will go prepared with more snacks and things like that to make it easier. And of course, my trusty hot water kettle for hot tea and everything. Have that. It's soothing. It's, it just kind of helps me take a moment. And I always take time to spend time looking out the windows when we're in the hospital room, and just kind of watching the world go by and seeing what's going on outside. It looks the same as yesterday and the day before, unless it's raining or, maybe a couple of extra helicopters that day. But, that's how we spend the time, is by watching the goings on outside the window. But I'll never forget walking into that hospital room the first time for CAR T. And something inside of me said, run. You're not going to be able to leave for a whole month. And just all the air went out of my lungs. I'm like, I can't leave him. I'll have to take him with me. But knowing that you're not going to be able to leave a very, very small confined space for a month, that was not as scary as the cancer, but something unexpected. I didn't know that that's where my mind would go. I didn't know that's what I would think whenever we walked in, because the room was very, very small. And there are much larger rooms, and I'm hoping that we get a large room this next time. It does make the stay easier. More lung capacity happens in a larger room. It doesn't, but it does. Yeah. And you're just not so crowded, and just, you can just take those deep breaths in and let them out a little easier if you have just a little bit more space and air in the room. Yeah. But that was probably an unexpected thing too. It's just that visceral reaction of like, run.
Yeah. Is there anything else you would like to talk about or anything before we close?
I think that I would just like to say, don't wait. If you suspect something is wrong, if something is out of the norm, even if it's not, if something's happening and it's happened before, get it checked out. Don't wait. Don't be scared. Because the sooner you catch something, the easier it is to get started. The sooner you can get started on treatment. Don't be scared of the unknown. And if you do, God forbid, get a cancer diagnosis, or someone you do, just don't dwell on the fear. I know it will happen for a few days, but move past that. I'm a fixer. And so after the first week, I was like, what do you want for supper? And then I was a puddle of tears. But then I was like, okay, how can I fix this? I can't take his cancer away. I cannot fix his cancer, but what can I do? Mm-hmm. And my deal was, okay, I can support him nutritionally. I can make sure he has good food and the best food for him, and did research, and so his diet has been altered, and it's not necessarily what he would prefer, but he knows it's for the best for him. And so just educate yourself. And if there's someone that you know, a phone call means so much. Just let them know that they're remembered, that they're not forgotten. Take the time out of your day to give them a basket of fruit. Now, if they're undergoing treatment and their white blood cells are wiped out, fresh fruit is not a good, or fresh flowers is not a good gift. But maybe a book or just something. Like, if their yard needs to be mowed and you have a lawnmower, you have no idea how much that might be appreciated. Just simple things. It doesn't have to cost any money. It can just be an act of kindness. Just a few minutes out of your day, just a text. Hey, thinking about you. How are you doing? Just let them know that they're thought of, that they're remembered.
Yeah.
And hug on their kids too, especially when they're not around to hug on them. Hug on their kids. Things like that.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming on and being the first interview. And remember, March is the awareness month for multiple myeloma, which is the cancer we've been talking about today. And Tina here as the caretaker, just make sure you let the caretakers know, people, that they are appreciated and loved, and make sure that they take care of themselves too, because they have a huge job. So thank y'all, and I hope y'all enjoyed.
And also, I want to tell you thank you for inviting me on here, and because I know this is dear to your heart too.
Yes.
And thank you for allowing this opportunity to further the knowledge of this and just cancer in general.
You're welcome, and thank you. And you can always visit my Instagram and Facebook, and there is a link to the GoFundMe for Tina and Richard, and there is also an informational link to learn more about multiple myeloma, and that will stay up there permanently on my Facebook and Instagram, so y'all can learn more at any point and also donate if y'all see fit. So, thank y'all.
Thank you. Okay, sorry.
Thank you for coming on this journey. So this is the ending with part 4. I hope y'all have enjoyed everything. Everyone have a wonderful day. This is Megan signing off with Women of Word Podcast. Don't forget to like, love, subscribe, comment, all those things. It really does help the podcast grow, and I would greatly appreciate it. Thank y'all.